All right, Pickle. Let's talk a little bit about what we missed while we were gone. We were off for about 2 weeks, right? It ended up being, I think, 12 days.
Yeah.
I ended up being off. You were off a little bit longer, 2 full weeks, because you were not part of the
I mean, I was working from Houston, but I wasn't here at the show.
Yeah, you weren't here on the show. We haven't had a show since, I think, the 21st of December. So a few things that we missed. One of them, I guess we'll start with what happened last night. Last night, the College Football Playoff National Semifinal at the Sugar Bowl pitted the Texas Longhorns against the Washington Huskies. And I hate to break it to you if this is some breaking news, but Texas did not win.
They did not.
No. Washington 37 and Texas 31 is your final in a game that was honestly...
It was fun,
it was,
and then it was boring.
It was not that,
and then it got really fun.
It was a 6-point game that didn't really feel like a 6-point game until, the final 55 seconds or something.
Yeah, and then it got wild.
And then it became very clear that it was a 6-point game. This was the kind of game that I think Texas fans feared. And what I mean by that is, if you take a look at what Washington is particularly good at, what they're very good at is airing it out, using Michael Penix Jr., their outstanding quarterback, and their spectacular receiving corps.
And the other thing is, and Mallory and I talked about this last night while we were watching, Penix deserves a lot of credit for the ground game that he had.
Yep.
Because
he
is always airing it out, and he was not scared to get 15 yards up the gut on multiple occasions.
He ran for 31 yards.
Yeah.
And they were big yards because that was essentially those are the only chunk running plays they had. They were not able to run the ball on Texas, which I think we also anticipated would be the case, that the middle of Washington's line was going to have trouble with guys like Tavondre Sweat and Byron Murphy, and they did. But I think Texas fans, if you were to say to Texas fans what worries you, you would say, all right, our secondary against their receivers.
Yes.
And especially if we cannot pressure Penix off the edge, then we're going to have trouble. And for all we've talked about the defense for Texas, especially at the linebacker and especially on the interior line, the edge rushers have only been okay, and the back end has only been okay. And going up against elite, it became very clear early that Washington was going to be able to have some success. Jalen Polk hit a big Lufkin's own, by the way, had a big catch that set up the first touchdown. They went back and forth. I thought that I have a couple of notes here. One of them is I think Texas got away from the run way too quickly in this game. Now I understand that the game state changed in a sense where they were unable to, they were chasing the game, and so as a result they had to take to the air.
Right.
But they were having some good success on the ground with Baxter and Blue. And for those guys to only have a combined 18 carries is, in my mind, a problem.
Especially after the stat line for Worthy and all those guys, they combined for 7 yards of receiving in the first half. What are you doing at that point?
The other thing is, Mitchell and Worthy had 1 catch in the first half. They did not involve Mitchell and Worthy, who are your game breakers, nearly enough, in my estimation. Here's the other thing, and it's uncomfortable to say this, but it's true. Quinn Ewers, nope. Wasn't good enough. Plain and simple. Especially that first half. And I would say especially the first 3 quarters.
Yeah. Yeah, he didn't start letting him rip until the fourth. Man, the thing...
when they were chasing.
The thing that got me, that I was just shocked about, and I'd have to go back and look exactly what down it was, but the play call at the very end of the game when they were going for the end zone for the first time, or what we figured would have been going for the end zone for the first time, the little, screen pass to Jadon Blue was a terrible play call.
There were some real questionable plays.
Terrible.
There were
horrible, especially from an offensive mind like Steve Sarkisian. What was that?
There were some weird play calls on both sides.
Yeah.
There was a play in the second quarter where Washington was lining up for fourth and 2 or 4th and 1, and they just first of all they decided to go for it when I think they were in field goal range, and the other thing was maybe long field goal range, but the other thing was they were like, what if we just run quarterback draw like up the middle? It's like that's where you're the weakest.
Yeah.
Like don't try to run.
Why
the ball.
would
you haven't been able
that?
to do it all game. I thought that was a really bizarre. I thought both coaches coached this game a little tight.
Yeah.
Which was interesting.
Yeah, that little screen pass at the end. I mean, we just sat there and were just shocked. Like, what are you doing?
I have some serious questions about the play calling for Texas and about their game plan. Especially when it became apparent, in my opinion, early on that Quinn Ewers was not on. You know what I mean? He was not as locked in as we've seen. Now maybe he's hurt. We don't know the situation, but I didn't think he played particularly well, and especially when you're able to run the ball as well as they did, knowing that you're going to need to, especially if that keeps your defense fresh and keeps them off the field, so Michael Penix doesn't throw for 430 yards on you. I thought
he was lights out.
I thought it was some really questionable play calling, but the season's over for Texas. It's weird. For all 4 of the semifinalists. Going into it, I think we all thought all 4 had a chance to win it. All 4 looked like they could do it. I think if you were to line up those 2 games again, I think Washington probably wins it 6 times and Texas wins it 4, right? And I think Michigan probably wins it 6 times and Alabama wins it 4.
Those were the 2 best semifinal games I think we've had in the stretch of the college football playoffs.
It's the best pair of semifinals I think we've ever had. Because normally you have one good one and one stinker, at best.
Yeah. Like last year when Georgia destroyed who did I don't know, someone, and then TCU beat Michigan.
TCU beat Michigan in a fantastic game. Georgia beat Ohio State, I think.
I don't remember.
Someone.
It proves that it wasn't a very good game.
All that's to say, it was, in my estimation, the best day of semifinals. Texas comes on the wrong side of it. I thought Texas was the more physical team, but I think that Washington's advantages at the key spots, specifically on the outside and at quarterback, shone through, and that was the end. In the end, Washington had the better quarterback, and Washington had the better receivers, and that ended up being the difference.
Yep. I really like that they were on New Year's Day rather than New Year's Eve. I know it's just because they didn't want to compete with the NFL on Sunday, but it was I did like that a lot.
It was worth it. Obviously, this is the last year of the 14 playoffs. They'll move to the 12-team playoff next year.
That schedule's already set.
Yeah.
For the next 2 years, actually.
But the college football season in Texas is now over. Other bowl games. What other bowl games did you catch?
I watched a ton of the Texas State and Rice bowl game. That one was fun.
My mom was there. My mom, who's a Texas State grad, Southwest Texas grad to be clear. And a number of my other family were there, and what a scene it was.
Yeah,
there.
Man,
you could tell
long
Texas
game.
State had been waiting. For that.
Yeah. Well, considering they sold the stadium out of alcohol, first off,
yes.
Second off, that was such a long game.
Yes.
It was really, really long.
Let's see. UTSA got their first ever bowl win. Congratulations to the Roadrunners.
SMU. What happened in that one?
Woof.
That was bad.
Yeah.
That was really bad. That was just disappointing.
Yeah. I want to dig into it more. I want to go back and watch the whole thing stem to stern, lock in. I was keeping an eye on it, but I didn't really lock into it.
Yeah.
But I thought they were probably the biggest disappointment of the bowl season. Now, part of it, certainly, I'm of the opinion. This is a broad take. Bowls are a measure of how much you want to be there.
Yes, and that was a
and
very
SMU,
bad draw to get in the Fenway Bowl.
For SMU, certainly they had eyes on an outside shot at New Year's 6. Considering what Liberty did, maybe they should have been in New Year's 6.
Good Lord.
But they, there was a little bit of not wanting to be there, which I thought was disappointing on their case. Yes, ma'am.
The other one from a national perspective that was just like, was Florida State getting absolutely blown out of the water.
Well, but again,
They didn't have many people playing.
I think 15 starters opted out.
Yeah.
And again, we were at the Cotton Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
We are both at the Cotton Bowl. I was there as a Missouri grad with my wife. You were there working.
Mm-hmm.
That was perfectly an encapsulation of who wanted to be there.
Yep. Because Missouri absolutely did, and Ohio State was on their fifth-string quarterback by the time.
By the time the game ended, they were on their fifth-string quarterback, and they're like, whatever.
That being said,
take nothing away from Mizzou. You don't apologize for beating Ohio State.
Yeah.
But I think that's the thing is that with non-playoff bowls, you have to consider like exactly how much they actually care about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the national championship game is set at Washington and Michigan.
And that happens Monday.
Yes, it happens Monday. So it's a quick turnaround. And it's in Houston. It's in the state of Texas.
Yeah.
So, that is going on down there, but it will not involve a Texas team, sadly. Okay, one other thing while we were gone, and that is that we named a Mr. Texas Football Player of the Year. You may remember that we are partnered with the TaxAct Texas Bowl, where Oklahoma State beat Texas A&M.
Mm-hmm.
But we partnered with the TaxAct Texas Bowl to name the Mr. Texas Football Player of the Year, wherein we announced this. I think it was on December 22nd.
Yes.
That the 2023 Mr. Texas Football Player of the Year is Willis quarterback DJ Lagway. DJ Lagway was this, of course, recognizes the most outstanding player in Texas high school football each year. This is a guy who set a 6A record throwing for 58 touchdowns, threw for 4,631 yards on more than 72% passing. Also ran for nearly 1,000 yards and 15 touchdowns, 5,600 total yards, and 73 touchdowns in just 14 games, leading Willis to the third round of the playoffs for just the second time in the program's 95-year history. It's always a big debate around here. This is something we take very seriously. We don't throw those around casually, and we considered we had 10 finalists, and can tell you with assurances that all 10 finalists were sincerely and considered for the award. But in the end, we felt that DJ Lagway was the most outstanding player in Texas high school football in 2023. And a deserving member of the Mr. Texas Football family now. So, DJ Lagway, your 2023 Mr. Texas Football Player of the Year. A ton of stuff on TexasFootball.com if you want to go there. We've always got great stuff.
Including
great
breaking
content.
news. That's now up on our site.
Now up there? I guess we can do the breaking news now. Breaking news from our own, of all people, Corey Hogue. I want it to be noted that Corey Hogue scooped Matt Stepp.
Yeah.
Sources have confirmed to Corey Hogue of Dave Campbell's Texas Football that Stephen F. Austin is going to hire a new offensive coordinator, and it will be Lovejoy head coach Chris Ross. He will be leaving Lovejoy to become the offensive coordinator at Stephen F. Austin. He's a Quanah native. He has been in the college ranks before. He was on the staff at Boise State for a couple of years before returning back to Texas. Most recently, he's been at Lovejoy. He was at Red Oak before that. He's been at Prosper. He had some great success at Cedar Park as well. But Chris Ross will be the next offensive coordinator at Stephen F. Austin, leaving Lovejoy to take that job, according to our own Corey Hogue on TexasFootball.com. It is coaching change season.
Yep.
So,
Matt Stepp's about to be back in his bag.
Matt Stepp getting in that bag again, getting in his New Year's bag. Anyway, that is what we missed while we were gone.